Hello, I'm Keith Goodman, and for those of you that don't know me, I'm a team lead for our program. Today I'll be giving a presentation on transitioning from traditional course design to creating online learning. This presentation has a specific focus on the importance of developing learning that creates a strong social presence. This training is called Social Connections by Design. There's plenty of evidence that supports the importance of establishing a social presence to help get students engaged. But one of my favorites is a case study from Dejin and Talhoun that looked at low connectivity online learning programs in Ethiopia. Essentially, the authors found that digital literacy and access to technology was a big barrier, but institutions and faculty also need to support learners with social connections that can foster a positive attitude towards using technology. How do social connections contribute to learner success, and why does it matter? Developing online instruction isn't about creating a digital duplicate of the content that you use in a physical classroom. In a classroom, lecture hall, or even in a conference room, you can present material directly to learners. Social presence in online learning environments needs to be more intentional. It's a shift in the way that your students perceive you, their peers, and the course. In online instruction, we call this social presence. It's the feeling that people on the other side of the screen are real and relevant, not just names on a roster. The community of inquiry model shows us that social presence is the foundation of online learning. Without it, your content won't stand out. We're moving from a model of accessing files to engaging with people. That shift is exactly what keeps students from dropping out when things get tough. It's easy to get caught up in which software is the best, but social presence is a human act and not a software feature. A high-tech video tool doesn't guarantee a connection if the presenter feels robotic or cold or distant. On the flip side, a simple text-based forum in your LMS can be incredibly powerful if you design it for active conversation. Instead of just asking students to post a minimum of once and reply twice, use those forums for collaborative problem-solving and conversation that sparks further discussion. Use the internal messaging system to send a quick note of encouragement. The goal is immediacy. You want to be recognizable, warm, and personal. You're using the technology to bridge the distance, not just to deliver content from your syllabus. We have to be realistic about our environment. In a perfect world, we'd all be on high-definition video calls, but that isn't the reality for everyone. Between limited bandwidth, limited device capabilities, and busy schedules, live interaction isn't realistic if you're developing online learning. We need to match our medium to our environment and lean into asynchronous tools. Text-based forums are great because they provide a permanent record that students can access whenever their connection is stable. But text can feel a bit dry, so try adding short audio or video or voice notes. Hearing your voice conveys tone and emotion in a way that text just can't. And don't ignore mobile-friendly platforms like Slack or WhatsApp. They're often the best way to keep a social thread alive without expecting users to live inside the learning management system when they're on their device. For projects, consider tools that allow shared documentation. While Canvas and other learning management systems have lots of features, don't be afraid to use outside tools like Google Docs. Let's look back at that study of learners in Ethiopia and what we can learn from students with limited access to technology and connectivity. Power interruptions and internet outages aren't just occasional glitches in developing countries. They're a constant part of the journey. But there's also a readiness gap. Many students feel technically or even psychologically unprepared for online learning. They might feel technically poor, which leads to frustration and a desire to withdraw. This is where social presence comes in. Having an instructor that cares and content that connects the class protects against feelings of isolation. When a student feels like they belong to a community, they're much more likely to push through technical hurdles. Since we can't always rely on real-time interaction, we have to design for anytime support. We need to move away from the idea that everyone has to be online at the same time. Instead, we focus on building group cohesion. If you encourage peer-to-peer networks that function even when you're offline, the students start to rely on each other. You're designing activities that allow someone to contribute at 2 a.m. if that's the only time that they have a signal. We're not just delivering information anymore, we're building a social support system that stays active even when the instructor is away from the keyboard. As an instructor, you're the social architect of the course. You set the tone for how everyone interacts. I want to point you towards the social presence model, which focuses on things like intimacy and community building. One of the best ways to build that intimacy is through modeling vulnerability. Don't be afraid to share a personal anecdote that relates to the lesson. If you're open and transparent about your own experiences, it lowers the social distance between you and the students. You should also practice active signposting. This means sending regular announcements or quick check-ins just to let the class know that you're there. Even when they can't see you, those regular pings prove that you're actively involved in their journey and part of the course. When it comes to feedback, personalization is everything. Using a student's name and referencing a specific point that they made in a post goes a long way. It makes them feel seen. Think about the empathy gap that happens when we only communicate through text. You can bridge that gap by using short audio clips for your feedback. Hearing your tone and the inflection in your voice makes the interaction feel much more human and real. Your role is shifting from being a content source to a social connector. We know from research that the responsiveness is one of the biggest factors in student satisfaction. The faster and more personally you respond, the more present you feel to students and learners. It's important to remember that social interaction is the emotional engine of the course. It's what fuels a student's motivation to keep going. There's a phrase, it's transactional distance, which is the psychological gap between the learner and the group. When students feel close to you and their peers, that distance shrinks. This is especially vital when technical frustrations occur. If a student deals with an extended access issue due to connectivity or device problems, their emotional connection to the community is the glue that brings them back. If they feel isolated, that outage is just an excuse to quit. But if they feel like they're part of the team, they'll find a way to reconnect. Strong social presence actually leads to better self-regulation and autonomy. It might seem counterintuitive, but the more a student feels connected to a community, the better they get at managing their own learning. They start to use peer modeling. They watch how their classmates manage challenges, and they adapt those strategies for themselves. This kind of community-based problem solving reduces their dependence on you for every little thing. They start to monitor their own progress against the group. By fostering these social bonds, you're empowering your students to navigate the course as a collective unit rather than struggling through it alone. To wrap things up, I want to leave you with the idea that social presence is a choice that you make in your design. There's no magic wand that can do it for you, and just because you use software that's designed for social learning doesn't mean that it'll be effective. You have to decide to throw yourself into it and show students that you're genuine. Technology can deliver the message, but you're the one who creates the presence. By committing to building a community, you're giving your students the best possible tool for success. Whether it's through a voice note, a group conversation on Slack, or a personalized piece of feedback, your presence is what turns your digital content into a meaningful learning experience. Thank you for your time, and I hope this training makes it a little bit easier for you as you transition into online course development. I'll be sending along a copy of this presentation and a short, quick reference guide by email. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or if you'd like feedback.